The Fire Moth used to have a specialized, highly trained unit that they made use of to get stuff done. It was the Cocoon. Their missions were whatever they were asked to do, with the most common being infiltration or extermination of different magnitude. Among the members of this unit was Sakura, a deadly assassin who was one of the first, if not the first, to make a name for themselves under the name Cocoon. Not to be confused with Yae Sakura, who we'll get to in a bit. Sakura, at least initially, gives off a cold, detached feel as expected of someone in this line of work. Yet behind this intimidating aura is just a working woman who works to protect her family, more specifically her little sister, Rin, who she has so far been protecting solo from all the Honkai shenanigans. But unfortunately, what can go wrong will go wrong because you can't have shit in Honkai. This is a story of the previous era's deadliest assassin whose life ended so short. Our story begins near a random lake in the middle of the night. There was a young couple that's just having a great time until suddenly an assassin showed up. It was Sakura. Her target was the nerdy girl, Dr. May, who recently was recruited into the Moth. Unfortunately for Sakura, May has her boyfriend, Kevin, literally next to her, and you sure bet he's not gonna let anything touch his girlfriend. He then proceeded to detain Sakura to have a good little chat.
What you saying? Don't get me vexed, fam. Do not get me vexed, innit?
Following a bit of friendly interrogation, Kevin and May learned that Sakura was sent to kill May on orders of a powerful faction in the Moth. Now May, for someone that originally showed no interest in internal power struggles, decided to give it a shot by recruiting Sakura on the spot, which she managed to do by appealing to Sakura's desire to protect her little sister, as she carried around a pendant of their selfie to get her through work. After all, she needed all the help after she was introduced to the concept of death by Honkai. This unit would be known as the Cocoon, who would take on many secret missions, the most famous being a raid on a sanatorium at Sundown Alley, where they were sent in to liberate the inhabitants from the living. The people there didn't do anything per se, it's just that they were infected with Honkai, which was too much effort for Moth to cure, so they decided to just get rid of them to not risk a bigger mess. Cocoon was there to get the job done, not to concern themselves with much else. You may have remembered this place being run by a pioneer which, to her credit, probably didn't know putting a lot of Honkai together wasn't the best idea. She was taken in on suspicion of trying to commit a terror attack, but she wasn't the only one who got detained, as they also took in Kalpas. Yes, despite his outwards attitude, Kalpas loves taking care of the kids at the sanatorium, so you could imagine his fury when he saw Sakura murdering them. He actually fought and nearly beat her, who by this point was the mantis while he himself wasn't, which tells us a lot about his sheer power. This was more than enough for him to be a person of interest to the Moth. Cocoon started out as May's tool to rise through the Moth establishment, which over time became more of a penal unit filled with extraordinary convicts. And these people aren't always the most trustworthy. Plus, as mantises became more plentiful, allowing for entire armies of overpowered super soldiers, Cocoon would quickly become obsolete, and the orders would be given to purge them, following a riot after they were told about the possibility of them all going back to jail. It was supposed to be Sakura who would have the honors, but she was urgently put aside to investigate Kalpas, something which I talked about last time in his own video. You can check it out from the top right. Because Sakura wasn't available, they set out for Kalpas instead, and that was the end of Cocoon. This was before most mantises died fighting the Hershey of Binding, and these two, through their shared experience, had gotten a little bit more familiar with each other. So much so that Kalpas would go out of his way to defend her when she was accused of killing Alicia in light of the evidence against her. But to his credit, his trust was correct, because by now you would know that she was innocent. Well, it certainly doesn't help that your personal mask stained with your friend's blood was found. What went down after this was Kalpas was being such a nuisance to the point that the culprit behind Alicia's murder, the Damn Hershey, came to personally shut him up, revealing itself in the process. So that mask was probably a fake created by the Hershey of Corruption, whose power allows it to do whatever the hell it wants in the digital space. Now that I think about it, you would instantly know the blood on the mask was bullshit because the Sims are digital constructs that could not draw blood. Then again, it's not like they regularly cause bodily harm to each other to know about this, so I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Talking about Sims, the Sakura Sim is by far the most behind in terms of how much she actually knows about herself because she died the earliest, which was a fact she chose to hide from her sim, alongside what happened with Ren because it would make her sim ghost. It was tested, wasn't a great idea. But after a couple 100,000 years, it has been proven that sims do change, as the sim of Sakura today took defect like a champ. The whole point Sakura agreed to join Moth in the first place was to make the world a safer place for her sister. So imagine what's going through her head when one day Alicia dropped the bomb on her that her sister was identified as the literal being she's been training to fight against. Luckily, Sakura isn't a destroy Honkai at any cost type yet. Which is great considering Ren was by all aspects completely normal despite the scanner going apeshit over the Herschel level readings. Sakura really didn't want to turn in her sister because it's basically like dropping a villager in a sea of pillagers and expecting them to keep him safe. But Rin persuaded her to do it anyway, so to not make herself a liability. A decision that Sakura herself definitely will not regret, till a few days later when she went and jailbreak her out while being cheered on by Alicia, who seems to be relating suspiciously hard to the situation. But that's Alicia because any hardliners will absolutely not let this happen. And what followed was a series of really unfortunate events. Sakura ran into fucking Kevin, who you could tell was just trying to intimidate her into surrendering. But Sakura had a trick up her sleeves. You see, she likes to call her fighting style, also the sword, Setsuna, which basically means something along the line of really fast. She can rapidly swing her sword around and freeze nearby time and space, which was also how she avoided dying to the Herschel of corruption in the Elysian realm. Though she got past Kevin, she would only learn to her horror that she was in fact too late. As a few moments before this, Apollonia was thinking about how to solve the morale problem after it was broken following the Moth losing most of their best soldiers. She decided to just tell them not to feel down with her discipline. The rough wording was to not give up hope against the Honkai, which had an unintended consequence of causing a frenzy to kill the very harmless Herschel that's being kept in the facility. It amazes me how many things can go so wrong to end up in this situation, as the until now harmless Herschel awakens and murdered everybody there, along with infecting the base fire control, which included nukes by the way, and nuking what's left of their sorry asses because screw you it can. Sakura would run into this thing and try the talk no jutsu strategy, but the Herschel ain't having none of that and killed her. Luckily, any further damage was prevented after it got baited into a black box and trapped there until the current era where it was found and got its way to Yae Sakura in the Sakura Samsara part of the story. A confusing web of many retcons that was so convoluted, the devs left it forever on the back burner. Yae Sakura may have had the same sister dynamic that Sakura had, but it's best to not draw any connections from it outside of coincidences, because it's the same reason why none of the flame chasers in Elysian Realm ever questions why Raiden Mei looked identical to their leader. Anyways, back to Sakura who died to the Herschel. This demoralizes whoever's left in the Moth. Kalpas was furious upon finding out that Apollonia was indirectly responsible for the death of Sakura and an innocent kid, and it's at this point that Alicia decides to pull a epic stunt that I'll leave you to find out for yourselves in the latest chapter. Also because I'm saving it for her episode. But Sakura, she did everything she could to make sure her sister is safe. Yet, it all went so wrong, and it's perhaps the most demoralizing story out of anyone we see in Elysian Realm. Thanks for watching and have a great time.